Hey everybody, Mike Chipperini of Chipper's Island Adventures. And you know, online on the Facebook sites and whatever other sites I've been frequenting, I see a lot of people who are interested in buying Travatos or interested in buying RVs or Class Bs in general. So today I wanted to do a little video about what you'll need when you purchase a Class B, a Travato, or really, in fact, any other type of RV. So let's go ahead and we'll go over many of the things that you're going to need on top of the initial purchase of the RV. Okay, so the way it works is unless you buy a pre-owned RV, which may have a lot of items on it already that'll come with the RV, that happens occasionally. But when you buy an RV at a dealership, you're not getting anything. You'll get things like an in-house water filter. You'll get maybe a septic hose, which came with my rig. But I'm going to go over some of the things you're really going to have to buy. No dealership is going to give them to you unless you pay a lot more for the rig. So let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, so the first thing, and this is probably the most important item that you can buy, is a surge protector. I'm here to tell you that a lot of these campgrounds that you go to have sketchy electrical systems, and the first thing I'm going to do is protect my rig and put this on the pedestal and then plug into it. Now, this is one of the more expensive ones. This is the Hughes Power Watchdog. I love it. It is on, it does connect via Bluetooth, I believe, to your iPhone or Android or whatever. And it really is an excellent surge protector from an excellent company. And not to put a plug in for Hughes, but I had one of these go bad for whatever reason. And Hughes went ahead, after I sent them a video of what was occurring with mine, they sent me a brand new surge protector. So this is one of the most important things that you're going to need. Okay, the next item on my hit list is a hose. You're going to need to be able to get your fresh water on board somehow, and I recommend a collapsible hose. Now, most people get, and I believe it may be some type of weird law in some places, but a white hose or a blue. Blue represents fresh water. This is collapsible, which I prefer instead of having one of the hard hoses. But I recommend you get a collapsible blue hose, and you can neaten it up just like this if you have a Class B. If you have a Class C, you get more compartment space, so it's not so much of an issue. So definitely get yourself a blue or white hose for your fresh water supply. The next item you're going to need is some type of water filtration. Now, a lot of rigs come with the water filter on board, but I prefer to filter my water before it even hits my rig. So what I have is a two-stage filtration system, and this works great. Any water that goes on board that's staying on board, I put it through this filtration system, and I'll provide a link to where I got this in the details below. Some people prefer to use one of these blue filters, which is an inline filter. These are fine. I use it just to go ahead and sanitize. I don't like putting any contaminated water on board, so when I'm sanitizing or flushing my tanks, this is what I use. But for my regular water, when I'm storing it on board, I go through a two-stage filtration system. But these are okay. They're really more a combination sediment and charcoal filter, but they don't get out nearly as much as you will find in a two-stage filter. Another thing, before you start flowing water from any water source, unless you know the pressure, is you're going to need a pressure regulator. Now, the first one I bought was this one. I really like this because it has a nice gauge and I could tell exactly what the pressure was. But unfortunately, this one locked up on me. I need to get a new one. But what I had was one of these Camco. They're preset at like 40 psi, and that's what I'm using right now. It says it right on 40 to 50 psi. This works great in a pinch. I'd rather have one of these, but first and foremost, when you flow water into your rig, put a pressure regulator on it. That way there you don't blow out your lines inside. So that would be the next thing. Now I consider these 3 items, which is the surge protector, the water hose, and the next item in the big 3. This is almost like mandatory items you need on your rig. And the next item is your septic hose. But what goes along with your septic hose are latex gloves. Go to Home Depot or someplace and get yourself a box. On my Travato, I keep them right here, right under the toilet. There's a nice little compartment, so I can go ahead and grab latex gloves and deal with my septic. Now, the thing with the septic hose on a Class B is the tube is only about 5 foot long, and you want at least a 10-foot septic hose. 5 foot isn't going to get you far. Most rigs carry 20 feet at least. On my Class C, I carry 20 feet. On this rig, I was fortunate enough to find a 10-footer. Let's take a look at this. So this is a 10-footer, and I might even be able to get a little bit more in there, but this 10-footer fits very well in to that little tube, and it does the trick. So what I found out is that a lot of hoses come in different gauges of heaviness. So this particular one is a little bit thinner, but it works just fine, and it gives me 10 feet, and it fits right in this 5-foot tube. Now a lot of people go ahead and replace this 5-footer with a 10-foot tube. Now they can get about 20 feet in there. But in my situation, this hose here was fine. Go to the any store, you'll see there's a whole myriad of different hoses. You should be able to get a 10-foot hose in this tube. So the narrower gauge plastic, the more footage you're able to squeeze in that little tube, because like I said, that tube's only 5 foot, and some of those bigger heavy-duty Rhino hoses, a 10-foot hose will be about 10 feet, so you got to be careful. But definitely get yourself a hose, but also get yourself some latex gloves. The other thing you're going to want to get, I have my black bag that I keep all my black tank stuff in. The other thing you're going to want to get, and this is clean, is what I have is an elbow for going into the ground along with a donut. You don't necessarily need the donut, but this elbow is definitely helpful once you flush your tanks to see if it's coming out clear or not. So I recommend getting one of these Rhino elbows here for your sewer hose. Definitely. And I also recommend you get a pair of spanner wrenches, because occasionally disconnecting your hose can be a little trying, and these will come in very handy to disconnect that hose. These are spanner wrenches. They're very cheap on Amazon. I highly recommend you get these. By the way, for you Class B who have a rear bath like this, and you have your hookups like so interior, I keep a towel handy just in case I have any leakage or drippage from the water when I'm putting water on board. It's handy, stores right here, very convenient, all good. So while I have you back here at the bathroom, let's go ahead and discuss the toilet. You're gonna need toilet paper. Now I don't know if you really need RV toilet paper. There's plenty of toilet paper out there. You can get a few rolls of, say, septic safe toilet paper. Anything like that I think will work just fine. But the other thing you might want to get is a toilet brush. And this one here is really nice. It's kind of a rubbery toilet brush. It mounts right here on the wall and it doesn't go anywhere. It's held on by a suction cup, and then this case mounts on the suction cup, as you can see. It just slides right on. And I found, my wife found that, I don't know where, I think it was on Amazon, and it really does a great job for cleaning the toilet if you need to brush it out or whatever. Another thing for the toilet area is you're going to need some type of deodorizer or something like that for the toilet. And what I have is these porta packs. And I got these when I first got my Class C, so I'm pretty well stocked up on them. But whenever I dump my black tank, I make sure to put one of these in. Another one that's really good, and it's from Matt's RV Reviews, the same individual, and it's called Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment, and that's really getting some high ratings. And when I run out of these, I'm going to use these up first, I will go to Matt's Liquefied. I think it's a great product, and I have seen it rated on YouTube and stuff from people who have no stake in that company. It's just a really good product that helps break down any solids and whatnot in the black tank, and it deodorizes. It's a really good product, so I recommend Matt's Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment. The next item I like to discuss is you will need bedding. Now what I did is when I bought my Class B, they had pillows that went up along the windows. I took them out, I put them in a bag, and I stored them away. I find having a couple throw pillows is great. So what you're going to probably need is a mattress topper, some sheets, a comforter of some sort, and maybe an extra blanket. Now, one of the things I did that's kind of neat, and I stole the idea, I didn't come up with it, is in my shams, that's where I keep my extra blanket. So it stores right in there nice and neat. I don't need another pillow, so that's where I keep my extra blanket. So you are going to need things like that, something to think about. Back to the cushions. Those cushions, you can go ahead and make a big bed, but I don't do that. I have two twins, and this works great for me. I have no need to push them together. If I want to push them together, I still can, but I don't have to get extra sheets to make it all up. I prefer having my beds made. It just makes things simpler. And while we're talking about bedding and stuff, within the kitchen area, you're also going to need stuff like pots and pans, some glasses, plates, things of that nature. And I'll show you what's in my cabinets right now for cooking. So up here, I have my plates. I got a skillet along with a pan for boiling water. I also have some bowls back here. I have mugs, I have some glasses, and I have a toaster. That all fits just fine up here, but you're going to need that if you're going to cook. I also recommend that you put something underneath your stove glass, because otherwise it will rattle going down the highway. You're better off putting a little something there. I've seen a lot of pictures where these don't crack, they just shatter. That's the other thing you're going to want to take care of. But you're going to need pots and pans and all that good stuff. So things to think about. You're also going to need utensils, forks, spoons, knives, things of that nature. Another thing I recommend that you get is get yourself a bag for tools and fill up the bag with tools. Now what I do is I tend to use rigid tools with a battery, and this here is a blower. So if I need to clean off my mat that I put outside when I'm camping, I can just blow everything away. But I really recommend you get yourself a bag of tools, get a level if you want. This is always good. This is flex tape. If you ever have a leak or something like that, this will come in handy. But get yourself some of these tools. Always have a roll of like duct tape. You know, things like zip ties, good to have on board. But you never know when you're going to need to work on your rig, because sometimes you don't have to call an RV service center in order to have your rig fixed. You can do it yourself. There's a lot of stuff on here. All it takes is a screwdriver to fix it. So I highly recommend that you get something like that. The other thing I recommend, and I actually have 2 bags of tools, and in this bag I have a tire inflator. Now this is very important. If you're on the road, your tires will fluctuate, but if you get to a point where you need to inflate your tires a little bit, something like this tire inflator comes in exceptionally handy. This particular one runs off the same battery as my blower and the same battery as my drill. So something else I think you really should have on board is a flashlight. Now this is a rigid, my drill is a rigid, my tire inflator is a rigid, as is my blower. And all of these work on the same battery, just like that. And now I have a tire inflator. So I could take this tire inflator and adjust it. For instance, the front tires are 80 psi, and I can inflate my tires to 80 psi. This will shut off once it hits 80. So really good tools to have, things like this. And like I said, they all run on the same battery. And that battery, I keep a charger on board, and I'll show you right where I keep it. Right here in this drawer with the utensils, I keep my battery charger. So that's all it is. Nice and neat, organized. So I highly recommend you get a setup like this. You never know when you're going to need it, and this flashlight is really excellent. So the only tragedy is I'm carrying 1 battery. I'll get another one, because if I want to use 2 tools at the same time, I'm kind of stuck if I only have 1 battery, but I will get another one. So definitely make sure you have tools on board. You won't regret it. You may, hopefully you'll never need them, but you could. Another thing you probably want to have is this reducer. Basically, it goes from a 30 amp to a 15. So using this, I can plug into my house. Now obviously, you're not going to be able to use something like the microwave or the air conditioner if you're on a 15 amp circuit. But I'm not worried about that. This helps me keep my batteries charged, things like that. I actually have a couple of these. One I leave at home, and then one I carry. So these really come in handy. Highly recommend you get one. Some people call it a dog bone. Call it what you will. I got one last item I think you might want to have, and then I think we're pretty much good to go here. So let me show you that. Here inside my door, I keep this squeegee, and it's already pre-filled with fluid. There's a lot of times where going down those highways, they're loaded with bugs, and I'll pull into a campground, and the first thing I'll do once I get settled is go ahead and squeegee my windows so I get them clean. And this really is a great little product. It works great. It's a little tough reaching sometimes, but it works great. So that's about it. I think I covered most of the items that you're going to need if you're traveling in a rig. I also know there's probably a couple items I missed. If there are, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. Until next time, all the best to all, and happy RVing.